Welcome to
Take It Outside
with Sherilyn Bilger
and Andrew Smith.
In this presentation, we're connecting learning to living during one of my class walks. To that end, I've invited Sherilyn along to work her magic. In my section, I discuss the theoretical connections between sustainability and well-being. I identify 3 interweaving dimensions of this connection and 4 pedagogical pillars that support it. Experientially, I hope specifically to facilitate personal and ecological well-being / sustainability by putting course material into practice, in part by taking it outside.
My theoretical foundation involves identifying stressors experienced by plants and by people in order to discover ways to alleviate the stressors through people-plant relationships. This discovery requires us to draw on prior knowledge of our distant green relatives. The experiential component addresses students' doubts about their knowledge of plants by linking plant well-being to personal well-being. We practice calling on this knowledge with an outdoor exercise during one of Andrew's classes.
When you think about this idea of well-being, what do you think about? What is well-being?
Health.
Yeah.
Good health.
Health, good health. Please don't speak at once. Yes. Health, quality of life, happiness, satisfaction, yeah.
Steadiness? Or staying steady?
Status?
Steady.
Oh, steadiness. Steadiness. In what sense?
Like, I feel like people who have, like, good well-being they don't fluctuate a lot. Like, they're just, like, calm and good all the time.
Okay, so he said not fluctuating a lot, able to sort of maintain ups and downs and sort of hold your own throughout. Yeah. Any other comments? Yeah.
Mental health.
Yeah, mental health for sure. So all of these concepts factor in for me too. Interestingly enough though, and this will sort of make sense now that I mentioned before we were on camera that I do environmental philosophy. I think of well-being in terms of sustainability. And I think of sustainability as interweaving sort of 3 different dimensions: personal well-being, social well-being, and ecological well-being. This class is focused a lot on personal well-being, personal sustainability, which has to do a lot with this steadiness, this ability to sort of deal with ups and downs. And we all know that it's a lot easier to deal with ups and downs when you are healthy, when you have a degree of satisfaction in your life, when you sort of know what you're aiming at, right? I'll talk a little bit more about life at Drexel here, but the students who I have before me, they know that this place does not make life easy. And one of the things that really motivates me is to try to give students a space to not learn about personal well-being, not have the knowledge, not develop these skills, but just to actually experience it and to enjoy it on their own terms. So when I think about personal sustainability, or personal well-being in this case, I think about just having the opportunity for some downtime, having some opportunity for control over your own lives. Like I said, typically we at a university like this, or most universities, when it comes to your education, you go into a class expecting that the professor is going to impart some knowledge, give you some skills, right? I think education has a lot more to do, at least in certain respects. You have to have some chances just to ground yourselves, just to sort of proceed in a different way. At Drexel we have a 4-quarter system, 10 weeks per quarter, and a lot of these students are going to classes throughout the entire year. A number of them have been doing 5, 6, 7 straight quarters. So, that's just brutal. It's intense, and it never stops. One thing I found when I got to this place was that by week 2, students are already prepping for midterms. I mean, what can I say? I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, that's effed up. That's just simply not right. This is a class, this is Philosophy 101, and that's Introduction to Western Philosophy. a lot of what these classes are like is that you get a chance to sort of go through and look at the work of a number of different philosophers, starting with Plato and Aristotle, and looking at the work of Descartes and Immanuel Kant, and maybe you get up to some contemporary people. I haven't done it that way, and not because I don't think that's important, but I wanted to take a different tack. We have no assignments, no homework, no grading. And there's a reason for that. For me, this course is based on 4 pillars, and I think about well-being in terms of these 4 pillars. For me, what really matters is that the group of us here can enjoy 4 things: trust, empathy, consent, and respect. We've been together for like 3 weeks now. I'm guessing that when I first handed my syllabus to you and showed you what you were doing, it was a bit off-putting, you know, and I understand that. It's not easy to trust that someone is just saying, look, we're gonna take this really lightly, and you can do what you do what you want to do, and that's all I'm expecting of you. You're used to having lots and lots of homework. I didn't want to give that to you. Partially because I wanted to actually just enjoy the experience of working together without having to worry about that stuff. I hope now, I mean, the fact that you guys are here makes me feel like maybe I'm starting to earn your trust. It's not quite there yet, but I hope and I think that maybe you believe me that, you know, we can do this thing without proceeding the normal way. Empathy. One thing that I actually am really happy about today is that I'm looking out at your faces and you're not yet exhausted. It might happen next week. It's always week 3 or week 4. I don't know what it is. But it really matters to me that we can work in a way that at least tries to defy that or work with it to the extent possible. Consent. A lot of courses work with the idea that it's your responsibility to show me that you've learned certain things. There's this whole assessment craze in our world that says our job is to assess what you've learned and how you've learned it. For me, I think that's looking at it in exactly the wrong way. It's my responsibility to make your time here worthwhile. And if I'm not doing that, you don't have to show me anything. You don't have to show up. The fact that you are showing up makes me feel really good, but you don't owe me that either. And respect, just recognizing that, I can't say this about students at other institutions, but I'll say that Drexel students are incredibly mature. They're on top of their stuff, and they're really organized. They have to be. So I see no reason not to respect that they're going to bring what they can bring. And if they can't make it to class, if they've got something else going on, if they're sick, you know, let them take care of themselves. That's part of the process of well-being, and it's part of building, I hope, a healthier relationship, a relationship where these acquaintances of mine can start to develop a better sense of how to be well within their world and how to find the space for that. One last thing, and I'm checking my notes. So we have classes on Mondays and Wednesdays. Mondays we focus on readings, and the way that we've sort of worked out the personal well-being thing, the personal sustainability within classes, is that I've tried to find readings that are contemporary and relevant and that speak to concerns that you face. Wednesdays, we get out and walk. And most of these walks are unscripted. What do you notice about the walks that might sort of encapsulate this idea that they're focused on just living well, having some satisfaction? What do you notice about them? What is your experience of these walks? Relaxing?
I notice, like, if I'm stressed out before, like, going on the walks, my mind kind of clears and, like, I can just relax and, like, not have to worry about anything and just, like, focus on the walk itself.
So they're a spot where you know there's nothing expected of you, so you get a chance to relax. What about where we go?
There's always like a nature aspect to it.
Yeah, isn't that weird? You know, it's sort. And when I started doing these walks, I did these walks a while ago. Argy was on the earlier end of these walks, and I never intended them to be like nature walks. They just sort of ended up going to green spaces because it happened to be, as Brenna said, one of the places where it was just easier to de-stress a bit.
But this idea of personal sustainability, have you heard of that Simon and Garfunkel song, I Am a Rock, I Am an Island? Yeah, so this idea that we really aren't rocks or islands. We rely on each other. So some of it is your relationship to yourself, but some of it is your relationship to other people. And that really can have an impact on your own well-being. So the other side of that is if you're feeling like stressors, something that you're not doing well, your well-being isn't so great. So are there ways that you can see that in other people? How can you tell when they're stressed? What do you see? Yeah.
A lot of times they don't sleep.
Yeah, how do you know that they haven't slept?
Bags under their eyes.
Yeah, the bags under the eyes, low energy. Yeah, what else? Yeah.
I know when I'm stressed, I just try to isolate myself.
Yes. Yeah, so your friends don't see you for a while. What's going on with that? Yeah, I do the same. Yeah. What else? Yeah.
I'm a stress eater.
Ah.
Heavily snacking. I'm
Yeah, and that can go either way, right? Like you're stress eating or you're stress not eating. What I want to just highlight is that there are ways that we display that we don't have great well-being, at least at some point in time. And now to segue that into, he's bringing you out to nature and why that might have a relationship. You know, he was talking about you can let go and you don't have to be doing work, you don't have to be stressed. There's an increasing body of literature focusing on actually showing that there are benefits to being outside, that you do actually feel better, that children are happier, they have fewer behavioral problems. People in hospitals, if they have a view out the window of a tree, they recover faster than if they don't. Kind of wild. There's this thing called Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. Have any of you heard of it? It's something in Japan where when people aren't feeling great, they go into a forest and they bathe in the forest to feel better. So it's slowly kind of coming over to the States as well as something that people can do. It's pretty cool. We'll see what happens with it. But now I want to think about, you can see with other people when they look stressed. Well, what about with plants? Can you see if plants might look stressed? Do you have any ideas? Like, what might you see in a plant that suggests it's stressed? Yeah. Wilting, yeah. What else? It's dead. Absolutely.
Discoloration.
Brown leaves, discoloration, yeah. Those are probably the most common ones. And I don't expect you don't have to know how to diagnose anything like that. But what I want you to play with at this point is actually some observation where I'm now going to ask you to get up and just walk around, find a plant, whatever it is that speaks to you for whatever reason, and just notice if it seems stressed. It might not seem stressed, that's cool too, but it might seem stressed. So take, 5 minutes or so, go for it. Okay, so any of you willing to share what you found? How you knew it was stressed? Yeah.
Oh,
No, no, no. How you knew it wasn't is good too. Yes, yes.
Oh, well, the trees, I like when they grow flowers like outside.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a sign that not that one, it's over there.
Ah, uh-huh.
That's a sign that it isn't stressed. And then people like cut that off. But I like when it grows stuff outside.
Great, great. What color flowers was it?
It was like just the green little like it was like buds. Yeah, so cute.
Very cute. Agreed. Great. So healthy flowers seems like a healthy plant. Absolutely. What else did you see? Yeah.
My tree seemed pretty happy, except it had some nails in it.
Yeah, yeah. So there's something within, the arborist area, we have something called signs and something called symptoms. So signs is like you see something and it's a sign of something wrong. Nails in a tree, that's a pretty clear sign. Symptom is, the flowers were looking good and healthy. Yeah. Anybody else willing to share? Yeah.
I found a bush that had brown spots, and it looked like a lot of the leaves were too light.
Uh-huh.
They weren't deep green.
Yeah, so that's the discoloration that we have mentioned before. Yeah, and that's one of those things, sometimes it does mean that the plant doesn't have enough nutrients. Sometimes it's something that they made to be that color, or it could naturally be that color.
It also had brown spots. I
But
don't think they made it.
not, right? There isn't much brown, except for these pawpaw flowers. If you see these, some of them really look brown. Yeah. So I wanted to share one with you. If you just look over here, the sea of green, yeah? You can see a lot of them. Oh yes, thank you. Yeah, sea of green. See all those little yellow flowers? So that's one kind of plant. And then there are the ones with the arrow-shaped leaves, yeah? So it looks to me like the arrow-shaped leaves are getting choked out and crowded from the ones with the yellow flowers. So this is an example of stress. It is being crowded out by an invasive plant. So the arrow-shaped, that's ginger, which in a lot of places is rare because people picked it, yeah, and it's gone. And the other is something called lesser celandine, and it came from people's gardens and just now is all over in natural spaces and it's everywhere. So that's clearly not so good. So I want to come back to these pillars that Andrew was talking about. Yeah? Yeah. So what were they again? Because I'm not in your class. Trust, empathy, respect, consent. So empathy, right? Being able to see and feel some kind of kinship with something that's feeling something. So I believe that if you are in a space like this, that is nature, that's also healthy, you know that. You can feel it. You're getting more out of it than a space that would be filled with like dead trees, right? That's not doing as much for you. Do any of you drive on I-76? Yeah, so you can kind of tell now, but during the summer, it looks like it's all green. It's like, yay! But it's all vines. So they just grow up the trees and they kill the trees. So when it looks like there's, a healthy tree, it's misleading because underneath that, there aren't any leaves. One of the ways that that's a problem is that trees take up a lot of water, right? You've probably heard stormwater runoff. It's a reciprocal relationship then. Like we rely on trees to take up all this extra water. They do a lot for us, yeah? So there's a relationship. There's what we can do. Like what were you saying about pulling something out of the ground and then it's stressed? Yeah. So it's funny, but it's actually true, right? It happens. And so the way that we interact with the world around us, it goes both ways, and it can be part of our overall sustainability, personally and socially. So something I'd like you to just think about or consider is when you're thinking about social sustainability, you've got your friends, you've got your family, you've got a-holes who are making the well-being harder, right? It's all over. But also, the plants can perhaps be part of that community, those relationships. So the tagline for my business is cultivating people-plant relationships. So it's my hope that we're going to do things together and all be better off.
In this presentation, we connected theoretical foundations to experiential learning by taking a philosophy class outside for discussion and related activities. We know these students struggle to maintain their own well-being, believing they simply have to suck it up. They presume they do not know how to better sustain themselves, or for that matter, the ecosystem surrounding them. We challenge this perception by highlighting what the students already know. They can identify signs of stress in themselves and each other, and going outside in nature reduces their stress. We then encourage the students to expand the social aspect of their own well-being to include plants. The specific activity is simply observation. Observe plants and observe themselves around plants. Through our ensuing discussion, we hope that these students begin to see a linkage between personal well-being and ecological sustainability. Exercises like the one in this video can encourage students to be aware of, concerned about, and motivated to fight climate change.